Welcome back to the Senior Living Marketing Success Podcast. It has been a while since I've said those words, but we're glad to be back and recording some episodes and hopefully delivering some really good content to you all. So today I have with me Mitch Alverson. Mitch is new to our team. We're super glad to have Mitch on. He's been in the senior living space for a while now, and so he's got a lot of expertise that he's already been sharing with us and been sharing with some of our clients, and he's going to do some of that on this podcast today. So welcome, Mitch.
Yeah, thanks so much, Luke. It's really, really good to be here. I've been on the team now for about 90 days-ish, something like that. And I have been watching you guys from a distance for a while. So I'm really a fan of what you guys are up to and really just honored to be on.
Cool. So I think today we kind of want to talk about SEO. I know that's a topic that I think it gets a lot of discussion, rightly so. I think partly because Google changes all the time. I mean, something I
Yeah.
say often is just the idea of when you think about SEO, you're really just thinking about how can I make Google happy today? And so like I don't really like that mindset, but if you want to
Right.
have good SEO, like that's what you have to do because every day there's something different and something new with SEO.
Yeah, it is. And so like when I think about it, I always think through like, yes, we do have to do a lot of things for Google. But if we keep the prospective family like also top of mind, that's honestly Google's, they want that too, right? So when Google, you got to put yourself in their shoes. They're trying to serve the best piece of content for the person that's whatever their search intent is. And so if we
Yeah.
can, you know, on your website, on your Google business profile, if we're doing that, if we're setting it up for the prospective family, we're going to check a lot of the boxes for Google, maybe not all of them, but we're going to check a lot of them. And then we can go through and say, all right, what is the other stuff we got to do to make sure Google's happy with us?
I think we've got a couple of different directions we want to go with this, but I'm just curious. I know you've received this pushback on SEO all the time, but I've heard often people get frustrated with SEO and SEO efforts because it takes so long. The nice thing about Google ads or Facebook ads is you say, hey, Google, Facebook, here's my money, take it. And then the next day you see clicks coming in. Where SEO, usually if somebody's pitching an SEO plan, they're like, hey, this is kind of a 3, 6, 12 month
Yeah.
thing. And so that can be kind of hard to invest into all of that. What would you say to someone who's like, I know we need more SEO. It's just really hard to be patient with that.
Yeah. So here's what I've seen like over the years of doing this is you will look up 12 months from now and you will either be so glad that you started today or you'll be kicking yourself in the pants thinking, dang, we should have started then because your competitors, some of them are doing it. And so that's that's the other part of this is that there are so many assisted living communities that are not doing it. And so if you just start to participate, you're going to be beating out so many. And when you do these things, especially with local SEO, it really kind of levels the playing field when you're dealing with these giant companies that have these huge budgets, right? If you get your local SEO right, you can compete with these big guys because those algorithms are different, right? The one for the local map pack is different than the one for the results below that, and so it's a long answer to say it. You will be so happy when you can look 12, 18 months from now and you're ranking for these core keywords and you're getting phone calls from those without having to pay per click. That's all I say
Yeah.
is like you can continue to pay for the leads or do the investment now, build the foundation now, and get the calls a little bit down the road because of the investment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a great answer. You're only just punishing yourself the longer you wait to really work on SEO. And I mean, the reality is it's not going anywhere. We kind of wondered, like, what would AI do to SEO and how would it affect it? And, a year and a half after ChatGPT's been around, SEO is still extremely important, more important than
Yep.
ever. And so I don't think, at least for local businesses, national corporate services outside of senior living, that may be a little different, but at least for like someone searching something local, local plumber, local, um, heating and air, whatever, local roofer, local nursing home, SEO is critical. So
Yep.
if you haven't started now, you're already behind.
Yeah.
That's the sad reality.
Yeah. Well, and so one of the catalysts for us to even talk about this today is because Google made another change. They, some of you guys, this won't mean anything to you, but they've changed their continuous scrolling results to pagination, which means now there is a page one and a page two and a page three. And, you know, you need to be on page one. And like you just mentioned, all almost all, I'd say 99% of assisted living communities, it's local. It's local SEO.
Right.
You really need to be in that map pack, right? And that's what if you go right now and you search for assisted living near me, wherever you are, you're going to see some ads, then you're going to see the map pack. Usually it's three. And then below that are the organic results. So with this change of like turning off continuous scrolling, it's even more of a reason why people should get started with just some basic SEO, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned AI. AI has made it easier to create content, easier to do some of the things that are involved with SEO. There's some great AI tools now that are helping analyze a site and say, oh, this site needs meta titles and meta descriptions, and then in a click, right, it's suggesting what those should be based on the content on the site, which is amazing, right? Saves a ton of time. Um, even the technology to look at the website, crawl the website, and then say, hey, you're not interlinking to this page over here, and if you did, guess what, this page is going to come up in the rankings.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of stuff that AI has made a little bit easier, from a technical perspective on SEO. So now is as good a time as any to jump in and start getting some of this stuff done.
Yeah. So let's talk about like um someone's listening, they're thinking, okay, you've convinced me, I need to focus on my SEO more. How do I get to number one? Like that's the thing with SEO is everyone's like, I want to get to number one, or I
Mm.
searched assisted living, and then you put in fill in the blank the town, assisted living, Kansas City, and we're not number one for whatever reason. So I mean, what would you start to say to someone to say, hey, to get to page one, first of all, you need to do these things. To get to number one, these things need to be in order. What pieces of advice would you give them?
The biggest and best thing you can do, most everybody listening is going to already have this, but some of you might not, is your Google business profile. You absolutely have to have that if you're going to listen, even with the onset of AI and people using different search engines. Google still has like 93% market share. So you need a Google business profile. You can't even get on Google Maps without a Google business profile. So make sure you have that. Go to google.com/business, with, logged into whatever Gmail account you normally use, and make sure you have a profile. That's number one. Number two is fill that sucker out as much as you can. If Google asks it, fill it out. Business hours, frequently asked questions. I mean, you can ask the questions and answer the questions.
Yep.
So there's a ton of stuff you can do with your Google business profile. Make sure you've got great photos. Um, Pro tip on the photos, you can tag those photos with uh, latitude and longitude coordinates as well as keywords. That's another thing you can
Yep.
do. There's a ton of stuff. That would be number one. Make sure you've optimized, first of all, claimed and then optimized your Google business profile. That would be number one.
Yep.
What would you say past that?
Past Google Business Profile, I mean, that's kind of been like Google Business Profile has really been my jam, like where I focus a lot of my SEO,
Yeah.
just because there's so many parts to it that 95% of profiles don't utilize.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned a few, but for example, when someone leaves a review, the words that are used even in your review response are counted towards SEO. So nobody's thinking like, oh, in my review response, I need to be thinking about specific keywords. When reality, I mean, all of that filters back into how Google views the business.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of like kind of high level things to do, just responding to reviews, getting reviews, but then there's even kind of like you dig deeper and there's tiny little things like that that end up making a big difference. But besides Google Business, I think most websites, I don't know if they do a great job at kind of siloing or
Mm,
categorizing their pages.
yeah.
Like it's kind of a little like technical and more technical on the SEO side, but basically what we mean by this is what you want to do with your website is kind of think about like presenting something that's really clean and organized to Google. So if you think about a senior living community, maybe a CCRC, you've got a homepage, about page, and then typically most people will have like a levels of care, services, levels of living, and there's 4 or 5 there: independent living, assisted living, memory care, rehab. Um, and so a lot of people will just throw all of those out as single pages. So meaning you would put nursinghome.com/assisted living. What what you really want to do with Google is categorize all of these things or silo and put things in their appropriate place. So we would say nursinghome.com/level of care/assisted living. So there's things like that where you can kind of get deep and technical that end up making a difference on page one, but most people don't even see that. They
Yep.
don't realize that something like that is important. It's just making it extremely easy for Google to get, because if Google's algorithm can understand it easily, that just means they're going to be more likely to show it to users who search on Google.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I see a lot that's a big mistake is people will have their name, address, phone number on the website, and it's different than what's on Google Business Profile.
Yeah.
And Google, again, they're really trying to serve the best result to a prospective family. And what they want to see is consistency when it comes to your name, address, and phone number. And so you want to make sure if on the website you have 1234 Main Street and you spell out street, that it's actually spelled out on Google Business Profile and it's not ST period.
Yeah.
If you've got a different phone number, you want to clean that up. And then you want to do that again across the internet because there's lots of citations and directories out there where your name, address, and phone number is. And if it's all a mess, that's not going to look good when the Google bot, in a split second scans for the answer, and they don't like what they see when it comes to your stuff, right? So you want to check all the citations that are out there, make sure name, address, and phone number is consistent. And of course, that sounds like a big job, and it kind of is, but there is some um, tools that we have and use to really help make that go faster. But you want to check that and make sure that it's consistent.
Yep. One other piece of this is related to SEO. This is kind of more in the reviews field.
Mm.
Um, is I was having a conversation with um, one of our partners the other day. They were just trying to figure out a strategy to get more Google reviews. Typically, what I see is most communities only ask for reviews, 90 days, 6 months after somebody's moved in. But let's think about who is reading the reviews. The person reading the reviews is probably the adult child. Most often, it's the adult daughter who's looking for a place for an aging parent. So, what I tell senior living communities is you need to be asking for reviews for the whole entire journey. So, as soon as someone comes in for a tour, you say, hey, can you leave a Google review about your tour experience? And more often than not, in those reviews, they say incredible things like, I toured and we put down a deposit because they were amazing. Or we've seen
Mm.
some that say, I toured, they have, they have a wait list and they put the name of the salesperson. They say they were amazing. All of that is so, so great because that's speaking directly to the adult child who's in that exact same situation. And so
Yep.
then after the person tours, say, hey, leave a review. If they move in, you say, hey, can you leave a review? If you already have, can you update that review? So you start to get kind of a full journey of what is it like to interact with this community. And so if you get more action on your Google Business profile, more reviews, more review updates, all of that is pointing back to how important your business is to Google, and that's affecting your SEO. So I know that's kind of more on the review side, but I just I think that's so important for SEO. Everyone knows
Yeah.
how important reviews are, but I think we're missing a lot of reviews because we're too afraid to ask for a review early on when you need to ask for them across the whole journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just saw a really nice review campaign for a community that ran an event. So they had an event, they had a great turnout with the event. They had everybody that came to the event register. So they had names, phone numbers, emails, and they texted those folks after the event, emailed them after the event, and their review count went up like 12 over the course of 2 weeks, which is really a big winner. You mentioned it. I've seen nobody knows for sure what the actual formula, what the algorithm is. That's kind of a big mystery. But I have heard real SEO guru experts say that that review piece is about the coefficient on that is about 30% to the whole thing, which is a big,
Yeah.
big deal.
Yep.
Yep.
So if there's a VP of marketing, digital marketing manager for some senior living communities, and they're listening to this and thinking, I'm not sure we're doing enough for SEO. What would your recommendation to them be?
Well, yeah, listen, I would just say reach out. It doesn't cost anything for us to do a quick analysis. I mean, we can turn around really quickly and give you a nice heat map of how you're doing with your local SEO for your core keywords. If you don't know what those are, you can also reach out to us. We can tell you what those are um, pretty quickly. So just go to seniorlivingpros.com and schedule some time to talk to us.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mitch. I enjoyed it, and I hope if you're listening to this that you got something out of it. If you have any questions, like Mitch said, just go to seniorlivingpros.com and let us know.
Thanks, Luke.